Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us again. This is the last webinar for the year 2022. Thank you for being with us from January to this point, and we're happy to have you. Today we have one of our very special persons, one great NAMP member, Professor Olatunde Oni from the Department of Pure and Applied Physics, Ladoke Akintola University of Technology, Ogbomoso. Today we'll be speaking with us on the topic towards a low-cost radiation treatment in low and middle-income countries, a Monte Carlo exploration. So I'll quickly just read Professor Oni's profile before handing over to him. Professor Oni received his training at the Ogun State University, now Olabisi Onabanjo University, Agoiwo in Nigeria, before proceeding to the University of Ibadan for his postgraduate studies. He's a professor of radiation and health physics at the Ladoke Akintola University of Technology, Ogbomoso, Nigeria. Professor Oni is a passionate researcher of international repute. He's a research affiliate member of Excite Laboratory, University of Victoria, Canada, and a research collaborator with the Precision Physics Group, USA. He has significant contributions in the simulation of the focusing properties of electrostatic lens, a major component of accelerating electron and its subsequent focus on the target, which is a major principle in the operation of X-ray machines and Linux in diagnosis and treatment. He has led several research activities in the determination of geogenic radon concentration in different compartments of the environment, leading to the physiologically based pharmacokinetic modeling and simulation of radon concentration and associated radiation absorbed those in human organs and tissues. With the international affiliation and collaboration, Professor Oni is presently harnessing and applying his computational prowess in development of low-cost approach to radiation treatment for the low and middle-income countries. Wow, that was a lot. That was a very, very impressive profile. So thank you so much, Professor Oni, for honoring us today. And we would love to hear all about this research you've been working on. So I'm going to hand over to you. And once again, I would like to say thank you to everyone who has joined us. I'm sorry, I can't see the list on my screen, but everyone who has joined us within NAMP and outside of NAMP, thank you so much for joining us today. So over to you, Professor Oni. You have, I think, 40 minutes so that we can have time for questions. Thank you, sir. So I'll stop sharing my screen now.
Yeah. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen across the world. It is my pleasure to present this webinar titled Towards a Low-Cost Treatment, Towards a Low-Cost Radiation Treatment in Low and Middle-Income Countries, a Monte Carlo Exploration. Can you see my screen?
Yes, but it's not in presentation mode.
Oh.
So F5 or
yeah.
Bottom right. Okay, yes.
It is okay.
Yes.
Fine. So I welcome you all. It is not gainsaying the fact that cancer is a global disease and it ranks as a leading cause of death worldwide. In so many countries, most especially the developing countries, it is the first or second leading cause of premature death. However, in some other countries, like the low and medium income countries, cancer ranked the third or the fourth cause of death below the age of 70 years. Since the beginning of the 21st century, there has been considerable progress in the treatment and the management of cancer, which has led to a good success story. However, this success story about cancer treatment is limited to countries with very high human development index. Since the topic I'm presenting on today targets the low and medium income countries, I want you to please check the screen. You see that as part of Africa, in Africa, so many countries in Africa are classified as LMIC. And these regions, according to the International Agency on Cancer Research, there are 76 million cancer deaths in a year worldwide, and about 63% of these deaths is recorded to be from developing countries. These developing countries are largely part of the LMIC countries. Among the major cancer treatment modalities, radiation therapy remains an important component, of which approximately 50% of all cancer patients receive radiation treatment. There are many other modalities of treating cancer. We have the chemotherapy, surgery, radiation therapy, immunotherapy. However, 50% of these treatments, 50% of the patients receive radiation treatment during the course of their ailment. And it is on record that radiotherapy contributes towards 40% of the curative treatment of cancer. This good story about cancer treatment is attributable to the technological advancement in radiation treatment. Since the commencement of radiation for treating cancer shortly after William Conrad discovered X-ray, there had been a progression in these modalities of cancer treatment. This progression was attributable or is attributable to the advancement and the availability of computer softwares and modern computer machines that are being integrated in the treatment of cancer. We can see on the slide the progression in time with the availability of cancer treatment. There are so many modalities of cancer treatments, from 2D to 3D to stereotactic radiotherapy to high MRT to image-guided radiation therapy to tomotherapy, cyberknife. All these have been possible because of the capability that have been capability of Monte Carlo simulation and the existence of available computing resources that have been annexed and used together in providing a better treatment for cancer. During the course of treatment, there are a lot of stages there are so many stages, and these stages actually involve quality assurance, starting from the consult to imaging and the simulation, which involves the dose planning of the dose and the treatment, to actual treatment delivery, and also for follow-up. Across the world, there is a record of existence of radiation therapy centers. Looking at the chart from IAEA 2016, which I believe is the current, since in the year 2017, the whole world has been plagued with pandemic, and so many records are still very scanty ever since. However, based on the current existing records of radiation therapy centers across the world, it is noticeable that LINAC, which is linear accelerators, are very much in use. There are many centers in America, in Europe, and some other developed countries that have linear accelerators. The record shows that the over 11,000 linear accelerators are available worldwide. However, out of these 11,000 linear accelerators, very scanty numbers are available across Africa. Why, you may ask? I also, while preparing this lecture, the questions came to my mind. What are actually the challenges that LMIC are facing in providing good radiotherapy for patients? However, the answer to my questions came from the publication of Ige et al. The publication was timely, and it actually answered all the questions about challenges of radiotherapy in low, mid, and middle-income countries. The authors pointed out that Africa as a whole has 34% of the optimal capacity of providing high-quality radiotherapy. However, not all African countries can be classified as LMIC. For all African countries, whether LMIC or countries with a very high Human Development Index, the paper have actually pointed out that there are major challenges, and these challenges were reportedly being faced. That there are a lack of human resources with significant training and expertise. In LMIC, treatment facilities are very limited. There is lack of funds to procure and maintain treatment machines and other related equipment. Also reported was poor availability of spare parts or maintenance engineer to manage these treatment machines, which for so many reasons are frequently breaking down. The treatment machines, availability of it, the use of Monte Carlo simulation, and the low and medium income countries were looked into, and there appears to be a good correlation between the use of Monte Carlo packages and the availability of radiotherapy machines. Looking at this slide about the countries that make use of a particular Monte Carlo package, there seems to be a good correlation between the existence of linear accelerators and the use of Monte Carlo packages, mainly in America and in France, which is part of the Europe. This is a map showing about 200 registered users are using OpenGate. For OpenGate alone, there is 200 users, which are largely from France and the USA. There have been increasing number also in Asia. In addition to OpenGate, which is a Monte Carlo package, there are other general purpose Monte Carlo packages. Monte Carlo package is a package that has been built on using the random walk from which Monte Carlo got its name. Monte Carlo method is a mathematical technique for estimating possible outcomes from uncertain events. Monte Carlo technique has played a prominent role in all stages of cancer treatment, such that over a period of decades, 2 to 3 decades now, there have been so many developments about Monte Carlo packages. EGS, that's electron gamma shower, Penelope, Beam, Primo, MCLP, are Monte Carlo packages that have been in existence together with GIAN-4. However, in the past 2 to 3 decades, there have been so many work about GIAN-4 that has led to the development of TOPAZ, that's tool for particle simulation, and GATE, which is GIAN-4 application for tomographic emission. Not only TOPAZ and GATE, there are so many other Monte Carlo packages that wrap GIAN-4. A very good one that is used for radio protection is HYDRA. I will still talk on that. Ladies and gentlemen, permit me to talk so much about these three, to talk more about these 3 Monte Carlo packages. These are the packages that I have tested and I've been using in my work, and I've discovered that they are very easy to use because there is no prior, because these packages require no prior programming knowledge. You don't need to know C++, you don't need to know Java, you don't need to have any knowledge of programming language before you make use of these packages. As I've mentioned earlier on, TOPAZ stands for Tools for Particle Simulation. And it is a GIAN-4, it is a Monte Carlo simulation package that wraps GIAN-4. And also GATE, which is GIAN-4 application for tomographic emission. These 2 packages have been validated. So many scientists have worked with them and they have made publications in validating the packages for medical imaging and radiation treatment application. In the 2 packages, TOPAZ and GATE, are very, very similar in their structures because, as I mentioned earlier on, they wrap up the generic GIAN-4. Using them follows the same step, which starts from defining your geometry, that is the materials and volumes. In defining the geometry, you must state that there are many options that you could take in defining the geometry. You can define the geometry your own way, as long as it is included in the materials database. You can use the NIST database, and you could actually generate the materials from clinical images. That is, voxelized images. When you have images from the clinics, you can translate the images to materials, and that there are 2 approaches to do that. You can approach it using the range translator, or you use the Hounsfield unit to material converter. These packages could be used to simulate medical imaging. You can use it to simulate SPECT, to simulate PET, to simulate the CT, and also for optical imaging. It could be used in radiotherapy, internal dosimetry, and even hadron therapy, which involves the use of heavy particles in treatment. Sequel to the simulation of the geometry, you define the volume. Your volume of interest, you must define the name, give it name, you give it the shape, you state the dimension. You can even decide to move the source. And there are two ways you can set the materials of the source. You can describe the materials that you are simulating. You can describe it analytically, as I've mentioned, by stating its composition, chemical composition, and you can use voxelized method, which is by converting the patient clinical image to material using the Schneider's method. You also have to set the physics. However, the option 4 is the recommended physics for medical physics applications. You define the costs, and following the definition of the costs, you have to create your source. You're at liberty to define your source. It could be, you could define it using the ion source. You can define it as a general particle source. You can define it for treatment planning system, pencil beam. And you could actually create your source as a voxelized source, which is the method that is mostly used for internal radiotherapy. This gives you the opportunity to present the distribution of your source, the energy distribution of the source. As I mentioned earlier on, this is a typical way of presenting a general particle source as an ion, in which you state the atomic number. For example, look at fluorine 18. The branching ratio, everything is considered when you define your source following this pattern. It is a faster method of defining it, and you can equally pick just the gamma. If you look, for example, if you are applying it in a positron emission tomography, which you just need to pick one of the gamma that is emitted by a source, in order not, because the speed, if it's just for that application, the speed is required, and you define your source using the back-to-back method. I don't want to bother out so much about the technicalities, because there will still be period for an in-depth training on this. Now, the volume of the shape of the source is of particular interest, depending on what you want to use it for. If you want to simulate a source that is cylindrical, you have to define the shape of the source. You have to, the position of the source also matters. And when the source is moving, these packages give room for you stating the movement of the source. The angle of emission is also very flexible, which could be defined following the so many available type. It could be isometrically. The source could be emitting in an isometric dimension, or if it is any angle that you desire to consider the source emitting radiation, the packages give you the freedom to do that. Now, I titled this as a virtual diagnostic and treatment machines, because these packages are the Monte Carlo packages, have the capability that have been utilized in the simulation of medical diagnostic and treatment machine. The packages have been used to simulate X-ray, computed tomography, and we can see this provides transmission imaging of the phantom. Positron emission tomography provide the emission imaging, which considers back-to-back simulation, by back-to-back emission of radiation, of gamma radiation from the source. And this is the detected, the ring detectors that are simulated also to capture the radiation and provide the emission image. Also, SPECT, that's single photon emission computed tomography, and can be simulated to provide functional image when morphological image from the CT is not giving sufficient information. SPECT could be used, and these packages could simulate and actually give you the result of this functional image that could then be used in the treatment, in the planning of the treatment. While these are being used, the packages are actually provided systems that are predefined. If you want to use SPECT, the packages are predefined. You just picking it, stating the dimension, and you take some few lines of macros. Like I said earlier on, no need for serious C++ or whatever. It's just by altering some macros, then you can simulate and get the image and your data. You can simulate the SPECT, the ECAT, if your PET is cylindrical, if you're talking of PET scanner, CT scanner, ordinary scanner, then any optical systems could also be simulated. With the blueprint of Siemens Symbia made available, OpenGate as a Monte Carlo simulation package had been used to simulate Siemens Symbia, which is a SPECT CT machine. And this is the setup of the gantry head, which is used to simulate the phantom. And this provides the gate projection output, which are reconstructed, and you can get the image of the phantom in the axial view, in the corona, and in the sagittal view. All these are available and could be done using the Monte Carlo package, and that is why I've called them the virtual treatment machines. We don't need to actually sit on the fence or rest on our horse saying there is no machine. We could simulate and get some things done or using these packages, which can complement the images or the planning that is available when a physical machine is not there, or we do not have any available treatment planning system. All these resources are there that could be developed in order to have our own treatment machines to actually work on some things. Not only PET, not only this, it could also be used to simulate a double, even multiple gantry heads for your scanner, for the scanner. This is the this is SPECT, the internal structure of a SPECT, and this is the simulated SPECT. You can see this, the gamma camera. SPECT actually works on the knowledge of gamma camera, in which you have a technetium source sending out radiation passing through collimator and inducing a crystal to produce light, which are captured by a photomultiplier tube, and to the detector, which will provide the image. So this gamma camera, when it rotates, could be used to capture a 3D image of the phantom, and that is the operational principle of a SPECT, which eventually, by simulation, you can capture the sinogram, and then working on the sinogram, you can, from the transformation of the sinogram, you can obtain the image of the phantom. Like I said earlier on, if you have the blueprint of your machine available, you can actually simulate the machine, get your image, and compare the image with the real machine. And that all these processes have been done, and they have been reported as a way of validating the clinical application of this. And I believe this have not been utilized, this possibility have not been utilized at all in the low and medium income countries. And that is why I'm bringing up this, to tell us and to show to us an existing tool that have been there for decades, which we have not actually tapped into fully to make use in the treatment, in providing good and quality treatments for cancer. This is the image captured using simulation of this of Symbian machine, having gotten his blueprint. You can see the image of a patient with thyroid carcinoma, in which the radionuclide used is iodine 131. Presently, there have been so many work ongoing using simulation in getting some other radionuclide that could be used for better and quality internal radiotherapy. Now, this is the internal structure of a LINAC that have been simulated. Few lines of codes are needed. You can see the electron, using these packages, raised in red refers to electron, green colored are gamma, and blue colored are positron. They are positive charges, radiation, they are positively charged particles. So like a proton, positron, when you have it in blue, it suggests the emission is positively charged. When it is negatively charged, it is electron, it is in red. And when it is photon, gamma or X-ray, you will see it in green color. So this is a simulation in which you have a LINAC. You can see the target, the filter, you can see the collimator, and you can see the radiation going inside into the phantom. It is some few lines of code that generate that. And this is just giving the label of the different parts of the linear accelerator that have been simulated for better understanding. You have the ability to simulate and visualize the source. Not only for radiation treatment, there is also an extension of TOPAZ for for radio protection study and radiobiology study. Open Gate has GANT for DNA, and there is a very beautiful one that is HYDRA. I love this HYDRA because it starts from you or defining the DNA sequence, and from the sequence, you can just pick, it's a matter of pick and drop. You see, it gives you the damage that the ionizing radiation has done to the cellular and to the even to the subcellular, with a graphical representation of the damage before the cell repairs itself and the damages that are there even after the repair mechanism as stated, as common. The resulting damage are reported by this, from where you can check. And these packages are useful for developing applications for actually predicting radiotherapy treatment, the effect of it on normal cells, which are in close proximity to either the planning target volume or the clinical target volume. I have some cases that I've actually worked on using these packages. The first one that I want to make presentation of is a project on development of a low-cost dosimetry system for SFRT. This is a project work that I'm supervising and being co-supervised by Dr. Peter Sandwell. It's a project work, a PhD work of Paul Muka at Lautech, Nigeria. In this work, we are investigating, this work is investigating the dose profile of a spatially fractionated radiation using grid collimator for LINAC and cobalt 60. We are making use of LINAC because there are so many, because presently there are advanced LINAC machines that have multi-leaf collimator, MLC, that have been integrated within it. And that is why we could have intensity modulated radiation treatments. However, some older versions of LINAC, especially that are available in LMIC, might not have that MLC component, and adopting or providing high intensity modulation, we have to make use of grid collimator. And since we are looking at LMIC providing good and quality treatment, how we can do it in a low-cost way, and that is why we are trying to simulate cobalt 60, which takes a very high number in the treatment machines that are in the LMIC. And this is a result that has been part of the results of this work. I'm not going to talk about it because I'm just to showcase this when the time comes, when the person has actually finished his work, is going to make a presentation fully about the work. But this is a typical grid collimator, a linear grid collimator, which we have simulated, which has been simulated. And this shows the simulation using phase space of a true beam LINAC. Remember, I told you earlier on, it was mentioned earlier on, that with the blueprint available, any treatment machines could be simulated. Not every manufacturer will give out the blueprint. However, there is a repository for all the phase space. So on IAEA website, there is one that provides the repository of phase space repository for most of the LINACs. So the phase space repository, the phase space for true beam LINAC was sourced from the site, and it was used on a Monte Carlo package. This work we used, the topaz is being used to simulate that. And this is a dose profile that the student actually has obtained. This shows the dose distribution. This is the PDD, the percentage dose depth. Is a 6 megavolt LINAC, and the D max is expected to be at 1.5 centimeter. And this gives a very close, a good approximation of the expected dose profile for a 6 MV photon in a water phantom. And this is the lateral beam profile for this. So more work is still ongoing on this, and because the work is to develop a low-cost dosimetry system for LINAC and robotic teletherapy. The work has reached an advanced stage, and very soon the researcher will come out and showcase what he has done. And I'm very sure it is a work that could be adopted for improving and contributing to cancer treatment in LMIC. Another case is the case of Monte Carlo investigation of spectrum choice on the dose distribution of high dose rate brachytherapy seed. This is an undergraduate independent supervised project of LAUTECH. There are some students that are currently working on it. They have simulated using the dimension of iridium-192 brachytherapy seed provided in Ballista et al. 2015. This is the simulated seed. This is zoomed because if you look at these dimensions, they are in millimeter. So this is the simulated seed, and this shows when active iridium-192 source is put into this and into the simulation, you can see the gamma photons that are simulated. This work aims at identifying the best model of gamma spectrum from the 5 different models presented in Ballista et al. Ballista et al. Provided 5 models of gamma for iridium-192. So we are working on this to actually optimize and find out which of the model is the best and could be used for further Monte Carlo simulation, most especially in LMIC. Case 3 that is being used to actually provide some windows in Monte Carlo application being adopted in LMIC is the work that involves Monte Carlo assessment of space OAR hydrogel that is currently being used in protecting the rectum during external treatment of prostate cancer. During treatment of prostate cancer. This is showing how the hydrogel is introduced. We can see the prostate is very close to the tumor and very close to the bladder. These are the organs at risk. However, from records of treatment of prostate cancer, oftentimes there is complaints after treatment about the rectum as a complication. So to protect the rectum, oftentimes the space OAR hydrogel is applied, and this we are trying to simulate this for different types of radiation, for electron, for the hadron therapy, and also for photons therapy. This also has reached an advanced stage you can see this is electrons being, we consider the analytical simulation here. Effort is ongoing in actually equally doing a patient voxelized imaging such that there will be a comparison of what we obtain using the analytical approach. The composition of the spacer gel is here, and then the geometry of the prostate and the rectum are also. The approximation that was carried out in the simulation was from Al-Khalil et al. 2016. Equally, we work on this extension to actually get and provide a low-cost treatment planning machine for cobalt 60 babbage, which it is a very common brachytherapy seed in LMIC. We are looking at this also because of the advantage that cobalt 60 has on iridium-192 based on its longer half-life. And very interestingly is harnessing the capability of these Monte Carlo packages in developing a mobile application for early cancer detection. This is a project that is being handled by Mivivo Diagnostic Limited, in which Dr. Peter Sandwell is the convener. I am part. Dr. Yobosa Uwadia is also part of this project, and Bayode Ibironke is managing the project. We are looking at a possibility of having a patient accessible repository where the patient will have access to their medical images on their mobile phone and annex this information together, annex this image together with the Monte Carlo simulation package and high accuracy computer vision algorithms for early detection of cancer, which we believe will go a long way in solving the problem. Conclusively, there exists a high probability that Monte Carlo simulation knowledge and packages have contributed immensely to the advancement in the radiation treatment. The capability of these open access Monte Carlo packages have not been annexed for research and clinical applications in LMICs. There are steps moving forward that should take in doing this. One, we should try to include, efforts should be on ground to include Monte Carlo packages the practical way into the curriculum in our schools. There should be creation of medical computation centers of excellence in which application of Monte Carlo simulation packages for open access could be used to complement the existing treatment plans or even used as substitute where none exist. And these packages could be used in such a way that there might be an agreement with a center that could serve as a remote hub for the treatment, such that even when there is no machine, we can simulate using the clinical images, look at what will be the effect of the treatment, which is a way generally of getting a cheaper treatment planning machine. I want to acknowledge Dr. Peter Sandwell that has been so much a great motivator in this course of research work. He has supported not only LAUTECH, but the Nigerian Association of Medical Physics as a whole, because through his effort, there have been a medical education and development scholarships, which he has moved, and he has gotten a pass mark such that the Rotary Club of Mansfield has offered a scholarship to Nigerian students that is taking research on the medical, that is embarking on medical research. This scholarship is monitored locally by Rotary E-Club of Greater Nigeria. Dr. Peter Sandwell is currently solely sponsoring MUCAP on the project work on especially fractionated radiotherapy. I thank Lautech. I thank immensely also Dr. Magdalene Basalova-Carter. Without is somebody that has made it possible for me to run the simulations, because he has provided the channel for me to use the cluster of University of Victoria, Canada. She was the person that introduced me to Topaz. She introduced me to Joseph Pierre, that provided the leading training to me and license on the use of Topaz. I thank also the Open Gate collaborator, most especially I thank Lydia. I thank Professor Grossman for granting me the training knowledge, for granting me the opportunity to embark on the Open Gate training. I thank Lydia, the spokesperson, and I thank Giovanna. Also, I thank all my tutors at the Open Gate Training School. I thank National Association of Medical Physics for providing me the opportunity to talk on this. Lest I forget Dr. Constantino, who introduced me to the use of Hydra. And I found the package very interesting and very easy to use. Constantino listens to all my complaints and offers assistance every point in time that I contacted him. I thank all my friends and well-wishers. Without your love, this wouldn't have been possible. And I thank you all, the audience of this seminar. I thank you once again, NAPS, for giving me the opportunity. God bless you so greatly.